Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode, the third episode in the Growing Mushroom series here at The Shed Organics. Right, first things first, guys. It's been a while in between episodes, and there's a good reason for that, and the reason is that it did not work. And look, I thought about all these things went through my head. I was like, oh no, it's failed. Oh, I can't possibly be, failing my first time. I'm making all of these videos. But the point is, I want to fail publicly in front of you guys to show you where the mistakes went wrong and how you might be able to avoid those mistakes yourselves. Now, I've still got the grain spawn bag here itself. We were growing pink oyster mushrooms, remember, out of the bucket that I am sitting on. So this is the grain spawn itself. Now, I want to talk about a few different things that may have gone wrong and where we can do better next time and why I believe that this experiment didn't work. Now, first and foremost, we need to remember that when I ordered the grain spawn, this particular spawn, it was in the mid of January, some insane heat that we get here in Queensland. Now, the guys from Aussie Mushroom Suppliers who have kindly been really good and been in touch and been helping me out with this experiment and kind of getting to know where I might have gone wrong. They've also offered to help me for future versions of this series to be able to really show you exactly how to do it. But what went wrong was that, first and foremost, the temperature at which the pink oyster mushroom spawn needs to be stored, both in the bag itself and then when we have inoculated all of the straw in the bucket and we're letting it just sit there and inoculate, both those temperatures from the research that I had done said that they can basically handle high temperatures. That's why I got it. It was the middle of January. It was the end of summer season here, the height of the high humidity and storm season. And I thought, look, maybe these can work. And when it arrived in this tiny little box, and nothing wrong with how they sent it, but it arrived in a tiny little box and was delivered on my scorchingly hot front doorstep for probably 5 to 6 hours in the full sun. Now, when I opened it up, this bag was extremely warm, and from what I've understood is that that is not very good at all for the mycelium. And even still, I mean, I don't know how well you can see this. Let me bring it up to the camera. You can see that essentially it's still not taking over all of the grain spawn. We can still see some mycelium in there, some white that's starting to take over. But look under here, you can see how moldy and sort of like too much condensation and things like that. And it's really slow growing. You'd expect this bag to be completely taken over within a couple of weeks. That's where we first went wrong, is the temperature storing this grain spawn really knocked it back. So the mycelium itself really struggled to recover. And by the time we inoculated the straw itself, after the heat pasteurization, it obviously was really struggling. So that was one. Then once we had inoculated and we'd put it in the bucket, the room which I stored the bucket in was consistently up close to, say, 27, 28, even up to 30 degrees on some days. Now, I thought that was okay, but that turns out that's the fruiting temperature. It can survive a little bit higher, maybe even still not that high, but the fruiting temperature itself can go a bit higher. But when we store it and when we're having it inoculate, we want to have cooler temperatures, even down as low as 20 degrees or under. So that was another place where it went wrong. That meant the mycelium didn't have a chance to take over the straw as quickly as possible. What ended up happening, I was leaving it, I was watching it, I was checking on it regularly, opening up the lid to see how far along we'd gotten with the with the inoculation, whether it was taking over the substrate inside the bucket, and it was extremely slow. I was seeing little bits of it taking over, but at the end of the day, I really I have to admit that it just was not going very fast, and it was going week after week, and I thought, okay, there's something going wrong here. So temperature is number one. Temperature is the number one where we went wrong on this experiment. Now, the second one, what happened was, after a few weeks, is that I started to notice some trichoderma taking over the substrate. Now, trichoderma thrive in warmer conditions, in hot and humid conditions, and they tend to, especially if the mycelium is slow growing, they tend to overtake and completely outpace the mycelium itself. The idea behind the heat pasteurization is that we don't have any of this, but obviously, you know, you saw I did it out on the bench, I had it out in the open, I tried to be as clean as possible, but, you know, I used mycorrhizal and trichoderma fungus in growing things, so there was bound to be spores somewhere around the place. So unfortunately, there was some trichoderma, and normally, if you have the right optimal conditions, then the mycelium will just take over that and there'll be no room for the trichoderma. But in this case, the trichoderma won out and eventually took over all of the straw substrate. Now, what I did also notice was that maybe there was slightly a lack of airflow. Maybe we packed too much straw into this bucket. So maybe there was too little room for oxygen and some of that gas exchange to really allow that mycelium to come through. But because we didn't get the temperature right in the first place, because the temperature was too high, I can't really rule that out. I can only say that, yes, there was a little bit of contamination from trichoderma, but at the end of the day, this stuff just was too, I guess, set back by the temperature storage. So the guys at Aussie Mushroom Supplies, they've been really, really helpful, and they've suggested to me that next time I try this, to get a fresh bag and to store it at a much lower temperature and to try and incubate and then fruit these mushrooms at a much lower temperature than I had intended. So because it was just simply in one of the bedrooms here in the tent setup, actually, I've no longer been able to use that room because now that's the room that we've set up for our child that's on the way, which is very exciting. So that's now the baby room. So I've had to move things around and make sacrifices, and the mushroom experiment has been put on hold until temperatures drop and I can give you guys basically the full rundown with the help of Aussie Mushroom Supplies to show you exactly how to grow these mushrooms. So I've learned a lot along the way of going through this experiment and figuring out, okay, how do I best store this stuff? How do we go through and do the pasteurization techniques? Which I'll go through a different one in the next time. We're going to try the cold pasteurization technique in future videos. And we're going to get ourselves a fresh bag of spawn, and then we're going to try the experiment all over again, okay? It's now kind of getting towards the end of March and the start of April, so we're basically gonna be getting into those cooler months soon where I can, because I don't have a temperature controlled room where I can run this experiment, I want to have the most optimal conditions in the environment so that I can grow the best mushrooms to basically show you how to do it at home and to feed myself and my family. So that's the plan. I was planning on showing you what's in the bucket, okay, because I've also left that for quite a few weeks, and I wanted to show you what the trichoderma looked like when it was taking over. But because of all of the rain and the humidity and the heat that we've been having in late March with the tropical cyclone that came through, and then even last weekend we had inundation full of rain, this bucket has absorbed too much moisture and has started to sort of basically kill off the trichoderma and go a little bit moldy and kind of not very good. So when I opened this bucket before filming to check whether I could show you what the trichoderma looks like, maybe I'll overlay some pictures of what trichoderma looks like in this video so you can see what it might look like taking over some straw substrate. But unfortunately, I can't show that to you at the moment because it's just gone all yuck. So I'm going to dispose of this into, well, I was thinking about composting it. I'm not actually 100% sure whether or not I should because of all the mold spores and things like this. I'm thinking maybe get rid of it into a separate area rather than run it through the compost. But if it's going through hot composting and the temperature gets up enough, then it should kill off all of those spores and be perfectly good, usable compost. So maybe let me know in the comments if you think I should compost it or not. And also, I'd be really interested to know where else you think maybe we could have done better and where we can take the experiment from here. Even maybe changing the variety. Like pink oyster does sound very good, and I think that we might be able to get away with it through the winter, so that might be something we're going to try again soon. But what are some other varieties that you would like to see grown, and what would you prefer to learn about how to grow at home? So that's a little update from me. I know it's a little disappointing that we failed, basically. It's just disappointing in general when things don't work out and we work really hard, and especially because, you know, I want to be able to teach you guys. But For the most part, the process was all good, but because of some of the things that I let lapse or behind the scenes, like the temperature and things like that, that we didn't really discuss, now is a perfect opportunity to discuss where we could have done better and how we can improve for next time. If you have anything to leave on this video, if you have any suggestions, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you again for your support. Thanks for following along, and we'll see you again very soon, hopefully on another mushroom episode before too long. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.